Hello, beautiful muses. Welcome to your glow up reading for the week. This week I'm doing a glow up reading that's about a specific category of life. A glow up reading around career. Where is a career glow up coming in? If you are not a career driven person or you don't have a career per se, it could be about, maybe you're a student, so it could be about a glow up in terms of schooling stuff or tests, or you're, starting to understand things, or it could be a glow up in terms of other, if you don't have a career, there may be other kinds of outer world responsibilities you have. Like if you are a stay-at-home mom, maybe you are on a PTA or some other thing, hold some kind of position in a group, or doing something with community service or something like that. Or if none of those relate, it could just be sort of like your status is getting a glow up. So how you're seen in the world outside of your private life, how your status might be getting a glow up. So the reason I'm doing this kind of glow up this week is Saturn, the planet that rules sort of career and status and how we discipline our focus and build mastery and authority in the world or in our lives, is coming to the midpoint of its yearly retrograde, which just means it's like coming to the summit of pressure of its yearly journey. And even though that summit point can hold some pressure and responsibility, it also holds a lot of sight and vision and a lot of epiphanies and a lot of kind of solidifying of things we've been working on, right? So it's a glow up in the sense of like, what are you, especially around career, status, whatever that is for you, what's solidifying for you? What are you finally like, what's clicking in for you? What are you really understanding? Saturn is also behind what's called the North Node. I won't get into too much, technical talk about that, other than to say that's a very, very spiritual, elder kind of space to inhabit, I guess. Not inhibit, inhabit. So there's also this really beautiful epiphany type quality here. This sage-like knowings coming in. So it's a really, that combination of, Saturn coming to its summit and where it's sitting in relation to the nodes, it's just like really coming into elder status. So I feel this glow up coming in, that like really strong, beautiful sight and epiphany coming in around, how we are kind of holding our mastery. So we're going to pick 3 piles here to choose from. First pile is myth. Second pile is unconscious. And third pile is simplicity. Beautiful. Feel free in this one if you feel, my assumption is most people will probably just resonate with one pile, but if you feel drawn to more than one, it's totally fine to go to more than one pile as well. So these are the 3 glow up piles for this week, and feel free to pause here if you need time to tune into these. When you're ready, timestamps will be in the descriptions, and I will see you guys in your readings. Hello, pile 1. Welcome to your glow up reading around career or minimally status. So you guys picked the myth pile, which is so fascinating. I'm definitely feeling this as like this glow up, like you connecting into and having these ahas about, like we're all made of a whole bunch of different archetypes. There may be archetypes we possess, or sort of like these universal types of characters, like, like a mother is an archetype, or the Joker, or the hero. There's lots of different, it's sort of like these universal kind of ways of packaging types of qualities, I guess you would say. And myths have strong association to these archetypes because it's oftentimes in myth we see a certain one or multiple different types of like characters or archetypes going on journeys that create some kind of development in them. So relating this to career, I feel like there's some epiphanies coming through for you in the next week or two around like the archetype of your professional self. Like, what is your role in the outer world? Getting some clarity about that. Really starting to understand what it is, what kind of archetype you put out into the world of status, the world of building and public holding responsibility, or public facing persona, whatever that is for you. It's like really starting to understand that quality in you that steps into that kind of role. And so being able to identify the archetype within you that really kind of takes the lead in your outer world positional type of life. And through that, through really getting clear about that archetype, understanding the kinds of journeys that archetype tends to go on, and then being able to like really then see yourself at different points in journeys. So having this new sort of really comprehensive and complex understanding, it's like you can't skip going through the journey and experiencing certain things, but suddenly you're able to say like, oh, I am what's more of like a professional type of archetype? I am an architect, right? And architects tend to have, there's lots of different kinds of journeys an architect could go on, but maybe because you have that archetype within you, you've always been you've gravitated to a lot of stories and myths that hold that archetype in it, and you're like, oh yeah, I could really relate to this. I'm trying to think of like an architect myth or story, and I can't. I probably chose the wrong one because I don't know really stories with that as the hero or the protagonist in the journey. I'm sure there's a ton of them. I just can't think of one right now. But, like whatever that archetype is to you, all of a sudden you're like, let me try and think of one where I do actually know some stories. So a king, like there's the king archetype. But when you see a lot of myths relating to the king archetype, most of them start out having either not known that was supposed to be their fate or who they were, or they shirk they don't want the responsibility. They try to hide from it. So if you think of Lord of the Rings, I think it's been a long time since I've seen that movie, but I think it's Aragorn who's supposed to be the king of whatever that main kingdom is, and he sort of has like become this more of a war, like tried to shirk being the king by becoming more of like a warrior and a protector in different ways, and has to go on this journey to really be able to step into that king archetype. Or there's the legend of King Arthur and pulling the sword from the stone. Like, he doesn't even know his lineage and doesn't realize till he pulls the sword from the stone that he is the rightful next king. Or, like, there's stories like that around the king. So there could be, say you feel like, oh, I really do have this king archetype in me that tends to be the one that steps out into that more public responsibility or positional responsibility. And yeah, I either didn't really know that I was that, but I had these kingly qualities, right? Or I've been trying to not step into that. I've been trying to dissociate from that archetype in me because it feels too heavy or too arrogant or too whatever it is. But suddenly you recognize it, you're having epiphanies about it, and you're like, oh, I really relate to Aragon, and I could see where I am in my own movie. Because I have kind of the same journey he has, metaphorically, right? Obviously, it's like that's a made-up world, but that's what these myths are. They're fictional realms. They're make-believe worlds that we can take metaphor from. But you're like, oh, I can kind of see where he is and his, like look through the journey he takes, and I can see where I am in relation to the arc the journey he takes in his arc, right? So I can kind of see the trajectory I'm on. I can kind of see what's upcoming. I can see what I've been through. I can better understand what it's about. I may not be able to skip steps, even though I can see what I might have to go through. But just being more conscious of this is helpful and helps me to just like step up to the challenges of where I'm at and what I'm going through and how I need to develop myself. And so it's just like a strong understanding coming through and a deep foresight as well. Okay, so let's get a numerology card to get a little more about this glow up. Karmic completion. I love this coming through because it helps to show that, like, I think why this understanding is coming through completely aligns with where, if you watched the intro, I'm relating this reading a lot to the planet Saturn and something it's going through, where it's like reaching a summit of like and it has sight. It's holding pressure and responsibility at that summit, but also has sight at the summit of like where it's come from and where it's going. And that summit is that completion point. And so karmic completion, like whatever you've been through to get to this point of sight, of understanding, of knowing, is because you've completed it. So going back to, and I apologize if you've never seen Lord of the Rings, but the Aragon story, at his summit, at his completion, that's when he takes the crown and he steps into his role as a king, right? So it's like, this is the moment, this coming week or two is really important. You're like stepping into really owning the archetype that you put out into the public domain or into positions in the world. And you're having these moments of comprehension, but also moments of willingness to step into your role more fully, more completely, more confidently, more accomplished. Something's clicking in something, you're getting something, right? You're understanding something, and accepting something. And, you know, for some of you, you may be stepping into, like, as you complete some journey you've been on, because we're talking about career or position in the world, you may also be stepping toward some kind of promotion or some kind of decision of like, oh, I really know the archetype I use career-wise or positional-wise in the world, and I've really, you know, conquered or completed this journey that solidified that about me and helped me understand that. And so now I can actually go out on my own and maybe, you know, going back to like whether, like maybe this is the architect, I'm going to start my own firm now, right? I understand a more figurative and meaningful role around what architect means, rather than just being attracted to liking architecture and being intrigued by architecture. You're understanding like the deeper role, like what does the archetype serve as or the architect, like what is the purpose of having architects as an archetype, like really getting the meaning and gravity of that. And so having the courage to be like, okay, like I have gained my rewards and certain recognition and a journey I've been in. I've learned under mentors, I've had protection under this corporation, but I feel like I have my own vision now and I'm going to start my own firm. So it could, you know, metaphorically be something like that. Okay, let's get a Priestess of Light. So a message from more of like a guide about this, like what, it's kind of like a deeper meaning here. Opening heart, deep connections, water, blessings. And I can't help but notice that this is card 11 coming right after card 10. And 11 is a master number. It's higher. It's stepping into like a higher vibration. But I also tend to look at 11s as a portal, like an archway, right? That you can step through into a new portal. So that feels even like it further confirms what I was feeling about like having completed one thing and readying to level up, whether that's a promotion or going out on your own to start like your own business, or just like stepping into that higher vibration, into another level, because you're able to hold a higher vibration in something. And definitely indicating here, because of the priestess that showed up, that it's like your heart is opening. The knowledge that's downloading, the journey you've been on that you're summiting, the completion you're coming to, there is kind of this resting point at the summit, even though it is also the point of holding responsibility. There's a detachment that comes there, so you can kind of take everything in, and being able to hold responsibility sometimes means taking a step back to get better sight of things, better view of things. And I think as you're taking a step back in the next couple weeks and looking at the view from where you are of past, present, and so what that means for future, you're seeing something beautiful. Your heart is opening. Even if it's been a difficult road or an easy road, whatever it's been for you, like what you're seeing with what you're viewing is opening your heart. You're feeling deeply connected to something that's unfolding in you, some recognition of self that's unfolding, of your purpose, of your expertise, of your role in the world, and the kind of responsibility you are supposed to hold for the world is like feeling really resonant. So really beautiful stuff. Okay, we're gonna get a tarot card under each of these for extra kind of confirmations or context, whatever comes out here. Okay. The Empress. So I think whatever sort of archetype or myth is like really starting to become clear to you is helping you to connect into a part of yourself that is very fertile and ready to create, which is very beautiful to see. Queen of Cups. Gorgeous tarot cards coming out. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if there's some people here that see, you know, this doesn't have to, but because we're talking about archetypes, there could be some mothers here. And recognizing that being kind of a caretaker and a nourishing force in the foundations of home and family and a person that knows how to, so the mother archetype doesn't have to be a literal mother to children, but that archetype can also be like that person that knows the importance of creating support systems. And so that may more broadly, like that mother archetype might more broadly connect to some of you that are here when we talk about it in that way of like coming into a recognition of the beauty and importance and fertile goddessy energy that it is to hold the mother archetype because of what support systems mean and your way of being able to create those and build solid foundations of support systems. So, you know, you may be a very professional person, but that mother archetype is like whatever you're doing in the world, you create very nourishing foundations, right? You know how to create nourished foundations for things and nourished support systems for things. And there's something that you're becoming clear about around that, that you're seeing better about that and recognizing better about that quality in you and the importance of it and a love for it and a respect for it. Also with the karmic element coming in here, karmic completion, it could be that there's something you just had to understand about that archetype, but now you can step into a more broad kind of queenly archetype that isn't only about support systems, but there's something you had to understand about nourishing foundations and support systems in order to step into a more broad Empress quality that's very fertile and creative. But there was like this, you know, ability to nourish foundations that you had to do some work on before you could more broadly step into the Empress. That's kind of what I'm feeling here. It's like you are the Empress professionally, but there was like just some work you had to do on the Cups aspect of the Empress. I see the Empress as holding all four queens. So it was just like the Queen of Cups needed a little more development or something. And it's like you've completed that though. That karmic need has been completed and now you can more wholly step into Empress mode. Okay, let's get a card under Opening Heart. And this might hold something about what's coming, that new level up in vibration and heart opening coming in. Knight of Swords. Yeah, some eagerness, some ideas coming in, some eagerness, some fighting spirit, not in terms of like having to battle for something, but just like this eagerness to kind of explore and expand and move your ideas out into the world is like really exploding open in your heart. You're ready to move to that next level. You're ready to charge through that archway, the new portal, that new elevation. You're ready for it. You're, guns blazing, right? You're charging through it. You're not dipping a toe. It's time to go. Okay, to end, we're just going to get you a beautiful affirmation from the crystal realm to go with this glow up. As you write, expanded awareness. My awareness is expanded with an abundance of clarity. And that definitely confirms that it's sort of like you are the Empress, your archetype, or at least one of, I think you could probably have multiple archetypes that are in the kind of world of profession or position. But some of us are more wholly just one, and I think some of us have multiple, but for sure for you guys, you do have that Empress there. And it's like, but you've had to really focus on and be the Queen of Cups and develop the Queen of Cups. So you may have, for some time at least, sort of lost sight that you're more than the Queen of Cups. And it's like that side is either turned on or come back to you. That like, oh, I am a full Empress. And I've become very clear about that. Yeah, that awareness expanded. Really gorgeous. All right, this is where I'm going to leave you guys. I hope you have a beautiful career or just position in the world type of glow up in the coming weeks. If this did resonate, I always appreciate support with likes, shares, and subscribes. Always grateful for kind and thoughtful comments as well. And I hope to see you in future readings. Hello, Pile 2. Welcome to your glow up reading around career or reputation in the world that should unfold in the next week or two. And you guys picked this very mysterious unconscious card. I'm very fascinated to get into this reading because the unconscious is like such an interesting thing, such a hard to pinpoint and grasp thing. But because this is a glow up, my sense, and even more than being a career or reputation glow up, the connection that's underlying this with Saturn coming to sort of its summit point or a completion of a long journey, and also in this like elder status in another separate way, there's something that I feel like you've done a lot of work with the unconscious. So like people coming here may be people that have done a lot of shadow work and psyche work, a lot of mystical work, or there could be, people that have studied depth psychology, a lot of Carl Jung, or that are literally like therapists or psychiatrists, or like things like that. You don't have to be any of these things, but I wouldn't be surprised if this group holds a lot of that. This pile holds a lot of that. Minimally, there's work you've done, even if it's been more on a personal level, of like really going deep within, trying to not just function on autopilot in life, not just sort of do things habitually or understand things by what you see in front of you, but like going into the world of perception, going into the world of senses and intuition, and going deep within, that is starting to pay off, that is starting to bring some aspects of you that have been unconscious into the light. I feel like there's been something you've succeeded in bringing some unconscious aspects of you into consciousness, which just elevates everything about your life. So of course it would bring a glow up to any aspect of your life, but because we're specifically calling out career, whatever you've pulled into consciousness from the unconscious has enhanced your sense of self as relates to what you're supposed to be doing in the world, what kind of position you're meant to hold for humanity, right? What you're uniquely designed for, after having done a lot of depth work and understanding of yourself. You also could be someone that's proactively done a lot of therapy and worked with guides or shamans or counselors or whatever. You could be someone that practices, you're like a practitioner of shamanism or studied shamanism. That's another thing that does go into like unconscious territory. But there's something coming up here. Oh, I love that nature came up. That kind of amplifies that feeling of like shamanism here. I don't know. This glow is just so mysterious. Like you literally could be starting to understand your deeper connection to nature and shamanism. Nature here is interesting because that definitely leans more in that shaman realm to me. But I don't specifically feel that everyone coming to this group is like supposed to have some glow up in terms of like becoming a shaman, right? So it's like interesting. Well, no, okay, this is like, okay, so what's coming through here? So looking at 74 as the number also here. Adds up to the number 11, which is like a frequency shift, like elevating your frequency, coming to a more spiritual frequency. And so I feel that nature coming up here is more about like you in working with your unconscious and the unconscious in general have gotten better in touch with your natural frequency and have naturally elevated your frequency, and maybe you're understanding nature's frequency even better. There's something about frequency here though with that 11 also coming through. But something like stabilizing in your sense of self through that. A more spiritual stability unfolding. And I still don't fully know how this really points towards career for you guys. I'm not getting a lot of clarity. I'm getting so much abstract information here. So let's get one more card. Priestess of Light here. So something from like a guide type of energy. Sacred gratitude, reverent appreciation, and prayer. Oh. Yeah, I mean, I think that you, whatever this means to you guys, there's been a lot of work done here. There's been a lot of deep diving energy going on. I feel the sense, and that deep diving and the nature coming out And then that talk about like a spiritual stability and raising your vibration. I feel that there's been a lot of work done in terms of career or position or like knowing who you're supposed to be in the outer world. It's like you came from a place of a lot of chaos and a lot of like unconscious functioning of just sort of like grasping at straws and things feeling a little bit chaotic. And it's like you had to slow down and go deep. It's almost like you had to pause. I don't know, for some of you, it's almost like you had to pause career or something. And whatever you perceived as pausing, like movement in position or the outer world in some way, the undercurrents of it was like your unconscious asking you to do a little bit more depth work, to understand how to more deeply and more reverently approach that outer world nature. And you've done, because we're talking about a glow up and with that Saturn association of some sort of like earned sight, earned completion, earned sight, earned comprehension of something coming in. It's like you've done a crazy amount of work to really get in touch with something much deeper about you and about life in general. And it's like you're now resonating at your correct frequency, and you have a spiritual stability and something pulled out of you that's become conscious that wasn't before, and you're able to proceed now. It's like this, to me, that sacred gratitude is what this glow up is pointing toward, is that through the work you've been doing, and I feel like this has been years, and especially for those of you that feel like something's been stalled in your outer world or in terms of position in the world, you suddenly having the aha of why that had to happen, or some gratitude that you did take the time to do that if you did that more intentionally. Either way, it's like this glow up is like you having epiphanies about the deep dive you've been doing and how that's actually created this really stable foundation for you, and really tapping into this new sense of sacred gratitude for what felt like a non-progress period was actually a really deepening progress of time, of foundational building of time. And then we have 50 as the number of your sacred gratitude card, 50. So 5 is change and 0 amplifies. It's very spiritual. So change is coming. And so that is that glow up. I think you can see where you're supposed to go, like is ready to make moves, to, you know, you're changing the frequency, right? It's trying to stand on that stability and foundation you've built and the new consciousness you've come into, and very reverently start to make changes, start to make moves. But with the backing almost of like this recognition and knowing that you have some guides, some unseen things. Also, that's also another meaning of the unconscious coming through here. It's like intimate knowledge of some guides that are with you. And so this reverent quality you've cultivated that you can use, not just making changes because like, well, it's time, like I've realized certain things, I've become more conscious of certain things, so it's time to move, but doing it because you feel a sacred timing, right? Like it's the right time. And so the changes I make are more sacred. They are more reverent. They are more intentional. They have more gravity. And I'm not just sort of changing things to change things, to try and move things, which is maybe what you used to do before you kind of came to this depth work. Now it's like I'm in alignment with right timing, with working in a more reverent rhythm and making moves more intentionally. Because I spent so much time with the 4 and the 74 creating this spiritual foundation, I don't want to mess that up. I don't want to disturb that by just doing things to do them, or doing things because that's what you're supposed to do and that's the next step that you traditionally take or what's expected of me, but being more trusting of a spiritual guidance and more natural unfoldment of things, and just like being in alignment with a right flow and your true nature and a natural unfoldment. It's just like it's a really, really powerful, beautiful kind of quality of being in terms of how you're willing to put yourself out there in the world and not have to adhere to rat race mentality or traditional mentalities or methods. Like, no, I know my nature. I know my spiritual foundations. I know how these things align for me in terms of how I step into roles in the world and the power that holds. And I know there's right timing, both in the world and for me. I know that there's a very sacred, reverent rhythm I've tapped into that doesn't really align with the frequency of normal world, which really functions at like an unaware level of the unconscious. But in actuality, by adhering to that, by going slower and more reverently and in time with my nature and nature, even though it might at times seem archaic or counter to the way to progress in career or reputation or whatever it is, it's actually a secret weapon and a more stable way of growing, and there's a more magnetic quality to it. There's a higher vibration that's attractive just because of the energy I hold. Yeah, there's like a sacred rebel here too, and an understanding. I think you've always been a rebel with career stuff, but before that, rebel was like a rebel without a cause, right? You were just rebelling to rebel. And now it's like, oh, I know why and the purpose, and I'm not being, in my point of view, I'm not being a rebel. I'm just being true. But the outer world may perceive me as being a rebel, but that's not where I'm coming from. I'm just being more conscious, right? And so more sacred and more reverent about how I hold authority and position in life and how I progress in career. And I think a lot of you probably have to do your own thing because I just don't think that you're going to adhere to expectations that are so out of alignment with a sacredness, with a natural way. But even if you are, maybe you are in a big corporation, there's something you're understanding and something that like people are going to get out of your way because they're like, well, it's not the way I want you to do it. Like your boss or something might be like, you're doing everything different than I asked, but something's working, and I have to respect that, and I do respect it. You know, something's happening here. But there is change. I definitely do feel strongly for a lot of you things have felt stalled for a while, and it's not been for naught. It's really changed your frequency. But now something's amplifying. You know how it's like, it can seem like when there's some kind of bottleneck, it can seem like, I'm trying to think of say you're on a freeway and there's an accident, and so the freeway kind of backs up and you're like, what is happening? There's no movement. We're inching along here. And so someone coming the other way and they're not seeing any traffic could be like, wow, that's weird that the oncoming traffic is so little, like nothing's happening. But then suddenly that crash is cleared and they open the road back up and it's like this massive traffic comes through, this huge rush, and all of a sudden they're like, oh wow, that came out of nowhere. But they didn't realize the traffic had been held up on that other side. They just all of a sudden are seeing this massive movement. And so I feel like it's like that, like there's been that roadblock, right? It hasn't even been a bottleneck, it's like a roadblock where everything's backed up, but now that like it opens, it's like a mass amount of movement suddenly gets amplified. Everything that's been held up and waiting to move forward kind of moves forward at once because they've all been kind of piling up, right? But at the same time, you're not just going to step on the gas on all of the movement. You're going to go very intentionally, reverently, thoroughly, in a natural way. Okay, so we're going to get some tarot cards under each of these to just get a little context. Death. Yeah, exactly. You've been doing some very, very transformative work. And you may not relate, my impression is a lot of you probably understand that you've been doing a lot of depth work, but you may not have connected that depth work had some direct link to career or position in the world. But like now as I'm talking, you might be like, oh wow, like I know I was doing the depth work and also career has felt stalled. I didn't, now I'm getting that there was a connection there. But yeah, like real deep transformation, becoming much more clear. Intentional, clear, thoughtful. Yeah, really, you've really retooled your psyche in terms of how you want to be present in the world. And it's the coming weeks, the glow up of that, the summit of that, the results of this are about to launch you forward. The butterfly, the caterpillar going into the chrysalis. You've been in that chrysalis and you're about to emerge as the butterfly very soon. With this glow ups, like in the next coming week or two. Okay, Queen of Swords. Yeah, your nature is very, very sharp, very intelligent, but in a way that nourishes intelligence, that nourishes the mind, that nourishes a sense of like elegance in life, but intelligence at the same time. But sometimes intelligence can be come from like ego, like technology, intelligence, all these things can be very ego based. But that's not the kind of intelligence you're plugged into. You have a quality of like being able to merge intuition with reason to find soul in intelligence. And it's like you're starting to understand that's part of your nature and what you're supposed to do with that, how that's supposed to be present in the world and the power it's supposed to hold in the world, and the effect it can have in the world when you really stand in that and owned it with more conscious, empowered spiritual foundations. And then we have Six of Wands. Yes, victory. I just think you're seeing things correctly now, and with depth and with appreciation and gratitude, and it's just bringing, that gratitude is bringing victories, and you're going to start to see victories, and you're going to start to see that movement and that amplification of movement, but it coming with reverence and sacredness. But stay connected to that gratitude that you're going to start coming into once you sort of like I feel like everything's going to click in at once, and you're going to be like, oh, all this depth work and all this stall, this is what it's all been about. It's just clicking in, and just stay connected to the gratitude that comes when it all clicks. Because that is the power behind the massive movement that's about to come through with this glow up. Really gorgeous. Okay, to end, we are just going to get an affirmation from the crystal realm for you guys. And we've got Ametrine with intuition. I am fully aligned with my intuition. I trust this powerful wisdom to guide me. Yeah, I think it's a lot like this. What's becoming more conscious is like how to blend the high intelligence you have with more soul and more sourcing and attention and mining unconscious territory. How to plug into the unconscious and work with it and be aware of it and bring things to consciousness from the unconscious. You've developed a strong intuition in that. Now you're able to merge that with intelligence. It's just bringing powerful alignment, wisdom, like a new trust in your own alignment and wisdoms through that. Beautiful. Okay, this is where I'm going to leave you guys. I hope this resonated, and I hope you have a beautiful glow up. If this did resonate, I always appreciate support. Likes and shares are an easy way to do that. Always grateful for kind and thoughtful comments as well. And I hope to see you in future readings. Hello, Pile 3. Welcome to your glow up having to do with career or reputation or position, however that resonates for you. So these glow ups are always meant to be things that are unfolding, right on the horizon. So in the next week or two. And you guys chose the card Simplicity as kind of like the main theme coming out here. And this is one of my favorite cards from this deck. It's the Supra deck, by the way. This is such the way this, I'm almost tempted to read the description from the book for this. But I won't. I didn't do that with the other cards. So I will just riff off of the way I relate to this. So this glow up is helping you to... The reason why if you listen to the intro, this is a little bit of a repeat, but just to re-emphasize something here. The reason why I chose to do a career glow up in this reading is because of a position Saturn is in, which is a planet that kind of rules how we build mastery and hold responsibility and can really connect to career and that kind of thing. It's in a very, it's in, all of the planets sort of take these journeys, and it's coming into its summit. So we're gaining these ahas right now and solidifying some successes. But it's also separate from that in another way in this very elder phase. And so it's these really, really profound types of things unfolding in terms of our Saturn energies. And so with simplicity coming out here, being that thing that's kind of, you're coming into these really deep, profound understandings and foresight with and successes with, is like this understanding that simplicity is always the thing that creates more resonance in the world. So you may look at, there's some examples I can give, like say you ask for some branding work to be done for a company, and you go through this whole process of working with like a graphic designer or a branding expert or whatever, and like in the end you come out with this very simple logo and maybe a very simple kind of motto or whatever, tagline with it, and it's amazing, you know, and it like really resonates with the world, and people are like, it's so simple, but I don't know why it's so resonant. And what they don't see is how much work and how much thought actually went into creating something so simple. And it's a natural process. And sometimes people, I feel like the logos and the branding that come out that people don't connect with, it's because they didn't really allow a natural unfoldment to happen with that. And I know I'm using branding as just a metaphor because we're kind of more talking professional stuff here, but this does not have to be about branding for you. It's just a way to talk about this simplicity card. But like the companies or the people that take time to really work on their branding and what it means and what it's representing and who the market is, and there's so many details that go into it, and so you can go through version after version, and it's sort of chaotic to start with. It's sort of convoluted and complicated and complex, and you whittle away and you whittle away until you find that elegant simplicity that is natural. You take time to find the natural essence of something by really taking the time to understand it, to give it form, to understand its function, to understand its personality, to understand its goals, to understand its message, you know. But going through the complexity of these questions and all the iterations of things, and then you end up with something that's so simple. And, you know, some people could even be like, why did we spend so much money and go through all that? And we just have this simple thing. And it's like, there's a resonance at the base of that, though, at the heart of that. And when you get to the right resonance, you just know it. It feels natural, and there's something timeless about it. Naturalness, timelessness, simplicity, all align here after a very complicated, convoluted, complex process. But if the goal is to get to the naturalness, the simplicity, the timelessness, you know it, the resonance, you know the resonance when you hit it. And so I feel something really strong about that for you guys. Like you're hitting the right resonance suddenly in terms of profession or career. You're stepping into your naturalness. You're stepping into your timelessness. You're stepping into that simplicity of the kind of career you want, or the kind of archetype you are within career, or the kind of goals you hold, or the way in which you hold authority, whatever this means to you. There's something where you are finally finding that naturalness of being, where your resonance is, where your elegance is, what's timeless about you in like your worldly position. And it's been a process, right? It's been a process to get there. You've probably been through many versions and iterations and experiments and questions and this and that. And it's like you whittle and whittle and whittle until you have this beautiful creation, but the process of getting there is messy. And sometimes you can be like, I don't even know, like, if there's anything here, right? Or like what this is supposed to be. It's just a blob right now, and it's gone through so many forms and nothing's connected. And it's a hard process to get to simplicity, but I think you've made it. I think you've found your essence, your naturalness, your timelessness. And that is giving you resonance in the world. That is imbuing you with some success around your right resonance, which is taking you to the right opportunities, to the right goals, to the right trajectory. And like everything is going to be so much simpler now going forward when it comes to career or position or, you know, like whatever it is for you, school. You know your trajectory, you know who you are, you know what you're supposed to do, you know your function, you know your market, you know why you resonate, where you resonate, with whom you resonate. And there's also that self-acceptance, right? When you know your resonance, when you know your essence, you can move from having unrealistic goals to being like, you know, for some people, maybe you started out with these goals of like, I'm going to be a world famous magician, or I don't know, a world famous, let's not use magician, I don't know where to go with that, a world famous politician, where I'm gonna look for a role as a diplomat or like in another country, and like really build up this kind of global political reputation. But when you actually come into your resonance and all the work you've done and efforts and this and that, you start to realize like, oh, I actually really love doing city council because I can see in real time the impact I can make for my community, and, you know, this or that. Or it could be opposite. You start out in city council and like end up as a diplomat in another country. You know, it doesn't matter which direction it goes, but like you may have had one set of goals to start, but by the end, when you get to your naturalness and your essence and your simplicity, it's like where you are within that initial foray into something is like very different than what you thought it was going to be. But whatever it is, you're finding your naturalness. And so it's something you do, like you're plugging in where it feels right to you and it feels good to you. And you're like, yes, this is, you know, there's no disappointment if you went in that, like, I want to do this world thing and now I'm just this small thing. It wouldn't feel like a demotion or like you're playing small in terms of what you had hoped. Like whatever it is for you, it's like, oh, this is the right plug-in. This feels good. This feels right. I'm happy. This is where I'm supposed to be. This is my resonance. I accept it and I love it. And this is beautiful. And it's exactly where I want to be, because it's where I was meant to be. Change. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of come up in every pile in some way. And it feels natural, like when you kind of come to a summit in something, you're finding your strength, you're solidifying certain things, you then have, you know, it's time to make the new goals. But something here, it's like, I think something's happening fast because this is like a really clear, direct message. I think this coming into your naturalness and essence when it comes to sort of career or mastery you're building or reputation for something, it's like as this clicks in, it's like immediately you know how you're supposed to plug in. And so just that very simple thing of knowing how you're supposed to plug in leads you to exactly where you're supposed to be. And it is sort of this, it brings a change, right? But it brings you being, that change is plugging you into the exact place you're supposed to be plugged into. But something, yeah, but like, it's kind of like this progression. It's like something's clicking and something's suddenly making sense. And you're like, oh, yes, this is what it is. That, you know, just like when you find the right branding and logo and tagline and mission statement, and like, yes, oh, this is it. We know it. This is exactly it. You can suddenly take that and do things with it, right? Like move out in the world, like everything suddenly like opens. And so it's easy to see possibility and start to make connections and start to plug yourself into the world. And so I just think something's happening fast with this. This is clicking in fast, and then you're plugging in fast to all the possibilities. And so there's just like a lot of things happening. Momentum. It feels like momentum to me. The change to me is sort of like having that aha. It's like you're kind of in the vein, right? You sort of know the general terrain you're in, but then when it clicks in, that's a change from being a little bit wishy-washy to being like really clear resonance. And that's the change, but then the change leads to really strong momentum. Okay, so we're gonna get a message from like a more spiritual guide. This is the Priestesses of Light. So what does a spirit guide type energy have to say? Tenderness, true love, and compassion. Oh, I love that. That's really sweet. So a lot of people coming here could be very gentle souls. I honestly, because we're talking about career, I just feel like, you know, this woman kissing the animal, or in this specific case, the giraffe, that's like you, how you feel about what's clicking in, like that clarity coming in of your naturalness, your simple, natural, resonant essence. It's like you're gonna love what clicks in so much, you're gonna feel so tender toward it. True love, right? There's a true love coming in terms of what's clicking in for you around what you're supposed to be or do in the world. And any like tensions and, you know, any harshness you've had toward yourself or in the journey to understand sort of what you're doing, profession, career, position wise, is like now that you understand and you've come into your right resonance, you can look back with compassion and really dissolve. It's like with the 9, this card being a 9 number too, it's like wisdom, universal wisdom setting in. You've been through the journey. You now have all of the sage wisdom you need to be able to look back and hold compassion for the journey you've been through, and understanding and being able to look at your history with more kindness and tenderness, and then looking forward with this sense of true love, and a sense of beauty for what you've reached and where you're going. And yeah, it's really, really beautiful glow up energy here. I feel like of any of the piles, it's just like something just really, I mean, I don't know, I shouldn't say of any of the piles. All of the piles have been incredibly profound and amazing. But there's something coming in here where it's like you just know. You're just in your rightness, in your truth. This is like the pinnacle that anyone could wish to get to, of just being in your right truth and being at ease and yeah, just, I mean, when you say it's something feels natural, like what else can you ask for? Something's just natural, right? It's easy, it's beautiful, it's what's better? I don't know. It's just amazing. Okay, so we're going to get a tarot card under each of these just for a little more context. And we have 8 of Swords. Is that right? No. Oh no, this is Justice, which is the 8th major arcana card. Justice, yes, balance coming in. You're in your perfect balance. Yeah, I mean, yeah, the Justice card coming right under Simplicity, it is. And it's funny, the Justice card is a Libra card, and I was really relating a lot of Libra energy to this Simplicity card. So it's funny that this came out. You're finding your perfect balance. Everything's coming into balance. Every self-acceptance is coming in. You're finding your truth, your rightness, your balance, your harmony, your peace. It's gorgeous. Ten of Swords. Oh, wow. That definitely sheds light on the process to getting to simplicity has not been easy. You have been in your head, trying to work things out in your head, exhausted, maybe burning the candle at both ends in some ways as well. On a real seeking journey to find your sense of belonging too, and kind of feeling I don't know, even stabbed in the back sometimes, or things falling apart often. But that is changing. Oh, I love the context of this coming under change. That gives more depth to the change card. Yeah, that's changing. I think you're getting out of your head, right? You're finding, Libra is another mental sign, which has that deep association with simplicity and the Justice card, but it brings a balance with intuition. So you're getting out of pure intellect, pure mind, and finding this new balance that's a little softer, a little more intuitive, but not sitting on your intelligence. Using it, but allowing heart and intuition and grace and cooperation and ease to balance in there. Okay. And also letting there be letting go of some control too. You don't have to hold the reins so tightly. Once you know your naturalness and your essence, you don't have to control everything, which may have been an issue before, and need to control some things when it came to career. But this greater acceptance of who you are and what you're supposed to be allows you to kind of let go of the reins and allow other people to be a part of what you do and hold some of the burden, and some just more cooperative energy where you can kind of share some of that weight when it comes to career too. Yeah. And then 2 of Cups with love, true love under love. Yeah, whatever energy you're coming into, or if you're finding yourself in a new kind of, or having new thoughts about career, or in a promotion or changing career, whatever it is, you really are finding your right match profession-wise or outer world trajectory-wise, like you've found yourself in what you're supposed to be doing in the outer world. Really gorgeous. Okay, to end, we are going to get you an affirmation from the crystal realm. Preunite with trust. I trust myself and the divine flow of the universe. Yes. I mean, that Libra energy I felt with simplicity and the Justice card. That Libra energy is like knowing, is like really coming into this self-acceptance. So you really understand what your resonance is and, accepting that, and then, making it balanced and beautiful and elegant. But this understanding of your resonance, then you can trust how you resonate with others. So then you know how to trust in the outer world as well, because you trust that resonance sense. It's a sense that's beyond, being persuaded or being seduced. There's that thing of, there's so many times when we're like, I knew something was off there, but they talked me into it. I did it anyway. And so you can develop some issues with trusting others because of those types of scenarios. But that Libra energy really, when we know our resonance and accept it, we can trust what our resonance tells us about how to trust other things, what's right for us. You're really tuned into resonance, and resonance really tunes into trust. And so, this preunite, saying trust, I trust myself in the divine flow of the universe. It's like you're using resonance in such an amazing, impeccable way now that allows you to trust in yourself and in the universe in such beautiful ways, and it's creating just flow for you, creation for you. It's amazing. This is such a gorgeous glow up reading, and I'm really excited for whatever comes with this glow up for you guys. Super profound. So lean into it. That simplicity and trust and things that click in right now for you, really take to heart, really see the importance of it, because it's pretty powerful. Okay, so that's all I have for you guys. If this reading resonated, I always talking about resonance. If this resonated, I always appreciate support with likes and shares. Always grateful for kind and thoughtful comments. And I hope to see you in future readings as well. See you guys.